This is the last day to grab limited edition shirts. Crest on the front, also on the sleeve, 2 designs, multiple colors. Grab one now if you'd like to. They will be there before the holidays, I can guarantee that. And after that, they're gone for good. Links down below in the description. Alright, today is a follow-up because one of my recent videos pertaining to a character named Mario Nafal has resulted in a response video on Twitter. It's not a good response, it's not a response that clears his name, but it's something, and in my opinion, it's well worth criticizing. For anyone who doesn't already know, Mario Nafal is a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur. He's a founder of what seems to be dozens of companies, many of them no longer active, and he's also risen to fame through a consistent schedule of Twitter Spaces in the aftermath of what can now be described as a complete meltdown with regards to FTX. Just to summarize, I'll do the YouTuber thing, I guess, where I rehash all the background every time I cover it, which is boring, yeah, but kind of required when you have a wider audience who don't necessarily watch every single upload. To summarize, Mario Nafal rapidly rose to popularity beyond anything he had seen prior to this, as celebrities, CEOs, politicians, and even Elon Musk himself joined his Twitter Spaces to discuss FTX and weigh in on the conversation. He had Hunter Biden on, he had regulators, influencers, scammers, political asylum seekers, the list goes on, but suffice it to say his meteoric rise in crypto, assuming a position as some sort of, de facto leader in the space, at least from a media perspective, was built in the wake of financial disaster and predicated on nothing of value. My initial coverage of this, which is linked down below in the description, focused on a set of revelations that pertain to Mario Nafal's prior business dealings, with a company called IBC in the center of it all. But in light of his response to all this, I think we need a little bit more clarity. For starters, this whole response video, if you really listen to it, is him saying, yeah, that's true, but don't pay attention to it. Or, yeah, I'll own up to that, but it's fixed now. My favorite one is, yeah, our tokens all crashed like scams, but that's because everything crashed like scams, which is categorically false and doesn't even really need to be refuted. Still, in the interest of surgical precision, metaphorically speaking, let's go through point by point. Defense number 1. This one's pretty straightforward. Mario effectively states, yeah, I said those things about lying to other companies. This is something he said in a podcast a long time ago. Impersonating competitors and using deception in order to gain access to privileged information. But it was a small audience, and it's not something I would encourage whatsoever. For context, he's on tape literally telling people that you should fake an email address and fake a website so that you can trick other companies into giving you information you shouldn't have, right? So that's another one. I'm not going to play the whole thing right now, but it's pretty damning. And he just cops to the whole thing, but then says that it's not something I would encourage whatsoever. That's the important quote. Problem is, he did encourage it. He said specifically this.
And if you want to be really, shady, you can pretend, fuck. You can pretend you're doing a pre-interview for another big podcast, okay? Let's say there's a big podcast called Big Surgery. I'll put the name there. What you could do is say, hey, my name is... Yeah. That's really, really shady, but fuck it. I'm giving you tips so you guys make money, and I would recommend you do anything it takes to start making money.
That seems to me like encouragement. I just don't have another word to describe it. I would recommend you do whatever it takes to start making money, while simultaneously suggesting that you impersonate other businesses to trick them out of privileged info. But fine, he's a kid, well, sort of, and this was in the past, so let's move on. Defense number 2 is that the entire market crashed and all of our tokens are locked, mostly, so we didn't dump on people because we aren't allowed to. That's a little bit better, optics-wise, compared to defense number 1, but in a response thread underneath an entirely different creator who criticized him, we can see the following. Quote, you said we dump tokens. This is not true as we get almost all of our tokens via SAFTs, i.e. they are locked, end quote. For this one, the other shoe, so to speak, is very close to dropping. Those SAFTs are out there, also known as a simple agreement for future tokens, S.A.F.T. And some of them were allegedly violated in order to dump tokens. I say allegedly here because the legality behind that paperwork coming out means that whoever leaked it can almost certainly be identified, which might mean litigation, right? But when those documents exist and claims are being made about what did or didn't happen, well, let's just say that this particular defense, the idea that everything in crypto crashed to basically zero, so obviously everything in their portfolio also crashed to basically zero, but not as a result of them ever selling tokens, it's going to be put to the test real soon. Moving on, we have defense number 3, and this is where it gets fun. When the show blew up, Mario and his partners were sharing whistleblower evidence about FTX, or so they claim. A lot of it was just random people saying whatever speculation they felt like, as the hosts frantically and pathetically reposted it, whatever it was, for like just clout, for social media gain and engagement. This is off script, but it reminded me of one of those Animal Planet or Discovery Channel documentaries where you have some kind of like parasitic group, or like hyenas or something, some vultures, that's a great example, that would swarm a disgusting carcass and just start pecking away at it. That's exactly what Mario and his team and his group of guests and his speakers were. That's exactly what it looked like, right? It's so sad. I mean, the desperation was palpable. You could see how desperate they were for the social media dopamine hit that comes with just having a big audience or getting a lot of interactions on your tweet. It's like, oh my God, it's like baby's first viral tweet. It was so sad. But anyway, all of this, their whistleblowers that they had and all of their high value, high impact reporting resulted in, so they say, threats. It is claimed that this level of hostility was what caused Mario to take down like big portions of the website. But let's really dig into that and discuss why it's complete bullshit. For starters, the website was untouched during the entire initial phase of his rapid ascent to public stardom. It was only changed after public scrutiny began to mount with regards specifically to his prior companies, and was only pulled down after criticism was levied against the track record and business choices of IBC Group. Mario says in no uncertain terms, again, that the website was just outdated. It's a mistake that they own up to as well. Oh goody, because I really need a scammer to tell me what is and is not a mistake that he graciously owns up to. But still, let's really examine this claim, because when you drill down to the root of what is being said here, it's an absolute joke. Let's use the 3 same examples as last time. Obviously, I didn't quite explain this well enough, because Mario has now decided that doubling down on the website was just outdated can serve as an adequate defense. Spoiler alert, it can't. These 3 examples are Genopets, Blocktopia, and Sidus Heroes. All 3 of these tokens have abysmal graphs, but let's be as charitable as possible towards Mario and assume that they are good projects merely down on their luck for the current year. Fine, cool. Genopets was listed on his website at $37, Blocktopia at 17 cents, and Sidus Heroes at 19 cents. But how can we extrapolate more from this? That's a simple process. Genopets only had a token value of mid to high 30s for one day. 1 hour, at like literally 60 minutes actually, where it spiked to $37 and then came crashing back down. This was November 29th, 2021, which means that the last time Mario's website got manually updated to include a token screenshot was presumably the very same hour that Genopets hit its maximum price. Coincidence? Maybe. Let's be charitable. What about Blocktopia? Blocktopia has had 2 spikes, relatively speaking, which might have been the correlating time frame where that specific maximum price snapshot was taken, and it turns out that one of them was also November 29th, 2021. Now, let's be honest here, that looks good for Mario, though it is a bit strange that their max price pump cycle landed on the exact same day, because he could reasonably now defend the idea that the website is just innocently outdated, and the latest snapshot appeared during a simultaneous all-time high between these 2 tokens. They never updated it afterwards, which is obviously strange, many months, but maybe, right? Like, he looks good here. This is plausible. However, all of that charitability evaporates when we look at Sidus Heroes, because Sidus Heroes peaked in price on January 1st of 2022. Think about this. These are manual pricing snapshots that are uploaded to Mario's website. Someone did this. This is not an API or an automatically updating ticker of the real-time price, which they could easily have implemented. Someone went in and chose what specific point in time should be referenced as the token price, right, as a snapshot. And so far, we're 2 for 2 that they chose the precise moment in time where the token was at its highest valuation before 98, 99, or even 99.9% collapse. Sidus Heroes completely unravels his defense here because the manual token price was implemented in January of 2022, after Genopets and Blocktopia had crashed by 50 to 70%. And yet, those 2 projects remained outdated at their highest possible price snapshot, as Sidus Heroes got updated to now sit at its highest possible price snapshot. Think about what he is asking you to believe here. If you take his words at face value, the team at IBC Group was updating the website frequently, only to stop precisely at the all-time high token value for multiple projects, only to continue updating other token snapshots afterward until they were also at the all-time high as well, and then stopping with those ones. This isn't better, dude. This explanation is literally just copying to the fact that you tried to manipulate people, and it's bullshit. Basically, there is no conceivable version of this where the website was simply outdated. It was deliberately constructed to showcase only the peak possible price of their failed tokens. Others were even updated afterward, leaving the now inaccurate snapshots in place, and this idea that they simply took down the website to address that innocent little lapse is asinine. Still, I wouldn't make this video if I didn't have more. Mario Nafal claims that he only took the client portfolio down because of harassment. He only took the misleading price snapshots down because they were outdated. But what about this? This is a YouTube channel, previously run or currently run perhaps by Mario Nafal himself, called We Are Growth Hackers. His own branding indicates that he will be showcasing, or did showcase rather, unconventional, shady marketing tactics. But there's no videos. Damn, foiled again. Except not, because everything on the internet is permanent, and deleting evidence does nothing to help you. Turns out that Mario Nafal on November 21st of 2022, that's 5 days ago, deleted everything from this YouTube channel about shady marketing tactics, purging 100% of the videos, views, community posts, literally everything, directly after critics began looking into his past. Remember, he is attempting to defend himself on the charge of telling listeners of an old podcast or old whatever it was, call, investor, growth hack, whatever it was, to use shady tactics like impersonating podcasts or other companies in order to gain information they shouldn't have, while deleting evidence from an old YouTube channel that teaches, in his own words, and attached to his very own branding, shady marketing to viewers. Why would he do this? I don't know. Maybe because he had relentlessly promoted a project called BitClout, which is heavily regarded in the crypto world as a purpose-built scam. CoffeeZilla has 3 excellent videos about this one. Backstory is basically that they tokenize celebrities without permission and then channel the money to who even knows where whenever they feel like it. And Mario Nafal was one of its biggest promoters. While running a story on BitClout, Economic Times India reached out for comment and was actually referred by BitClout themselves directly to Mario Nafal, who was also launching some kind of joint venture BitClout exchange at the time. Now, this matters because A, BitClout is something extremely shady that people need to be skeptical of in the first place, but also B, because Entertainment Times referred to the Athena Capital Group, which has apparently poured millions of dollars into the platform, while Mario Nafal is being forwarded media requests about what goes on there. Obvious question, what is Athena Capital Group? Short answer, it's an overarching entity behind the Athena group of companies, which contains Mario Nafal's various different, shall we say, entrepreneurial activities like IBC Group and Fruity. Only one problem here. These companies have issues too. Obviously, there's more going on than I could ever possibly fit in a single video, and I'm still digging into a bunch more angles here. But Fruity, for example, was fined by the ACCC, the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, for misleading strike-through pricing, because they effectively lied to their customers about discount to original price points that weren't real. Now, was it Mario himself? I doubt it, but the spiderweb runs deep. Everywhere you look with him, there's something else to see or find, and there is no shortage of issues to be discussed. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Right now, I'm cultivating a number of sources for different projects, one of which is a metaverse scam of sorts. I have a high-ranking employee on the inside. We are discussing how to showcase things while preserving anonymity, and a few other details as well as I conduct research and review documents, but one thing stood out from their testimony. Turns out that Mario Nafal, through one of his connected companies called NFT Tech, invested something like, I think, $100,000 in this metaverse project, only to allegedly ask for that money back from them during an audit, saying that they needed to fix some things, and then when the audit was over, the money was never seen again by the project in question. I won't go any further than that till I have the legal framework fully nailed down on what can and can't be shared, especially for anonymity and source protection, but these kinds of connections are popping up over and over and over again. Turns out that Mario used to run around on LinkedIn trying to buy failed ICO tokens and revamp them. I have messages, screenshots, and logs from people they approached who refer to it as, quote, an obvious scam. And when considering the wider professional landscape here, this ties in nicely with defense number 4. Mario claims in his response that the VC Telegram chat logs, where they are kicked out because they, quote, have a reputation for misleading projects, was all just a simple misunderstanding. Remember, the entire response video that he crafted with about 100 jump cuts in tow was basically saying over and over and over, yes, it's all true, but also we're innocent. He claims that all of this was simply a misunderstanding and that they only got kicked from 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 venture capital chat rooms because of a totally innocent little thing that people just didn't understand. Yeah, man, that's bullshit. Basic human psychology here, if it was 1 time, you'd remember and discuss it. If it was 2 times, you'd remember them and explain what happened. If it was 3, maybe you can thread the needle here and not remember all the details while hand waving it away. But when your own defense video says 2 or 3 or 4, that means it happened more than 4 times. You lost track of how often it happened. You know it occurred multiple times, numerous times, and you are still trying to hand wave it away as just a simple misunderstanding. Once again, yeah, that's true, but we trained the team to be smarter with how they scam developers, so it's not an issue. Final thing here, because there is a shit ton of stuff that it's just not ready for publication yet without further vetting and digging, especially more document corroboration, etc. Mario claims that they never had an inside source at Twitter to verify profiles for them. He claims that they dumped money into PR. The PR resulted in verification, and that's how they could guarantee results. But even if we buy into this explanation, how is that better? Mario Nafal helped get Web3 projects verified, he claims, by charging them tens of thousands of dollars for PR. He got seed tokens from them as a result, dumped, as per his own words, only some of them on retail investors, and then the projects crashed, nearly all of them without fail, to hundredths of a penny, no volume and no future. Think about that. He took on a client, puffed them up with marketing, helped them get verified, caused a spike in price, dumped some of his tokens, and then everyone that was tricked into investing by the PR campaign and the falsified sense of legitimacy that he fucking built was wiped out. How is that any better? Bottom line, the crypto world now idolizes someone who weaseled his way on stage after a track record that should be highly scrutinized, and when confronted, he started deleting all the evidence. I only took the snapshots down because they were outdated, deliberately. I only took the client list down because of, checks notes, harassment, and then it's back 3 days later. So if the real reason was harassment, now they will get harassed by the same exact people in the same exact way, solving nothing. And yet, if he's only ever deleting or hiding information to help other people or update things, why is he quietly purging everything from a YouTube channel where he heavily promoted BitClout and taught, quote, shady marketing? I have plenty more to dig into. A lot of it was forwarded by Hashbastards on Twitter. I'll link his profile in the description, including what appear to be old bots, like claiming to be his assistant or something, spamming broken English replies under all sorts of crypto activity. And trust me, I'm archiving everything now. But yeah, that's it. If you want support, please consider grabbing some merch. Last day to do that. Otherwise, Patreon and Locals, Odyssey, all sorts of stuff linked down below. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.